Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today I'm going to be trying to put back together this blower that I have. It's a Champion Blower and Forge Company number 70 blower that goes to a blacksmithing forge that I bought some time ago. I started restoring that thing and had to make a new gear. One of the gears inside of here had a broken tooth on it. I finally got the gear made, and we are ready to try to put this thing back together. So that's going to be the topic of today's video. It's been a while since I took this thing apart, and I'm just going to have to remember. It may take me a couple of tries to get it all put back together because I can't remember exactly how everything went, but hopefully we're going to be successful in getting this jigsaw puzzle put back together. Let's get in here and see if we can get it done. So here are the pieces to the puzzle. The parts that we took apart, had them all put up over here, saved together, and yeah, we got to figure out how they go back together. Before I kind of got off of this, I did manage to get most of the hardware ordered and stuff to where I'm replacing the hardware. Most of the hardware is kind of rusty on it, so the screws and the bolts and stuff like that we're going to replace. Of course, the main components here I've cleaned up, and they should all be ready to go back together. I do have one little ace in the hole, and that is in the catalog that I have on the Vintage Machinery website. For this company, they show this blower, and they actually show a cutaway view of it. So this should kind of help me remember and figure out exactly how all this stuff goes back together, hopefully. So let's get in here and see if we can figure out how all this stuff goes back together. So we're going to have to start down in the bottom. In the bottom gear, it looks like on this diagram is this bevel gear, and then there's a little spur gear beside it. And there's a shaft, and this shaft right here that all this rides on. And basically, these two are going to be keyed together with this key that's in here, and they're going to be keyed on this little shaft right here. This side here turns into bushing, and this end goes up into a bushing in the main casting to hold them all together. So looks like we're going to have to kind of fish all this down into the case and get all that lined up and put in there. So let's go over here and see if we can do that. I've got all this kind of being held over here in my vise. This is the main casting that it all goes in. This is where this shaft is going to kind of go up through on this side and into a bushing on the back side that these will ride on. So let's see, I need to get a little oil. I'll start by just put a little oil on this bushing here that'll ride in. And we're going to start feeding it in. And the gear is going to have to kind of drop down in here. Looks like it came out this direction. Tight fit. I don't know how I'm going to get that other gear in there. All right, I got that one kind of starting up onto the shaft here. Now there is the key in there that's got to be lined up. So I'm kind of looking down in here trying to find that key. There it is right there. And let's see if we can get it up onto. Can't see what I'm doing very well, so I'm going to put my little headlamp on to get some light down in here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm having a hard time holding it up, so I think I'm going to take a piece of string and tie around this where I can kind of manipulate it a little bit. All right, let's try this. All right, we're going to try this again. I found out that this was not wanting to slide up on there, and I just took a reamer and ran down through that bore and just cleaned up some little burrs and stuff in there. And it does seem to want to assemble a little bit easier now. So I'm gonna try to get this line back up on there. Okay, that one is starting in on this side. Now, well, I had it going. Okay. Now I got to get it kind of back out. The problem is that I got to get this gear lined up on it too. You know what I think I'm going to have to do is, what am I going to have to do? All right, so I think I'm starting to kind of figure this out. This has got to be down in here. I've just got a bolt that's the same size as this over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of hopefully get this lined up in there where that gear is just kind of hanging down in there, more or less where it needs to be. Now I need to kind of drop this gear down in there beside it, and there's just enough clearance for them both to go in there together. And now I got to kind of fish this piece in here and get them to line up. All right, I got the first gear is on it. Now I got to get the second gear kind of lined up on it. Problem is I can't see where the key is. I've got it captured in there where it can't drop down all the way. I think I'm on the right track here, but I need to mark the small gear down here where the key is at so that I can see that from up above. So I'm just going to take it out. We'll take a Sharpie pen and I'm just going to color that gear tooth right there above the key so that I can kind of see where it needs to be. All right, let's kind of reposition that in there again. I'm going to drop this back down in here. We'll run our, all right, so that bolt's just kind of got that other gear tooth just hanging in there. We'll take our gear on a string here, drop it in here. All right, I got it back down there again. Now let me find the key on that one. Okay, the key is started up on the big gear. Now what I got to do is get the small gear up on there as well. I know you guys can't see what's going on because I can't even see what's going on. And I'm not looking through the camera. I see multiple problems. I'm putting this in backwards. I get the big gear goes on the back and the small gear goes on the front. So let me pull it back out. All right, I got my order backwards. So the big gear goes on the back side. The small gear goes on the front side. I think I can probably get these kind of lined up again right here. All right, we're going to slide our gear back down in here. And I'm going to try to get those lined up and sliding together. All right, we got the first gear started on there. Now I need to get the second gear. I think we got it. I'm gonna get this little bushing going up in there. All right. Take my string off now. And look at there. That gear is in there. All right. Just put a little oil down in there. All right, I think that gear is in there. Before I get any farther, I want to tighten that set screw up. And that should be tight. Very good. All right, so now I need to get my next gear in, which will be the gear that drives the fan. So we got here is a helical gear that rides on this helical gear. And this one is held in there with some ball bearings on either side. Now these ball bearings are just placed in here manually. You got these cones that you tighten up on here. You can tighten the bearings up on either side. And the fan is driven right here. So that's going to have to go in next. So let me see about that. So this is the output shaft that the fan is on. The fan is actually attaches right here and it's going to stick out this side. It engages into the helical gear that's in the bottom that we just put in below. And there are some areas in here where ball bearings run. So when I say ball bearings, this is a very crude early type of ball bearing where you literally have ball bearings that are sitting up in that little channel right there. And this cone is going to tighten up against that and run against them, and it's going to run in that shaft. So what we're going to have to do is manually pack this on both sides and get these in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually pull this side off. I got a nut. There's a washer in between them here. And then this cone screws on as well. And when you do all this, what will happen is that this shaft the gear will actually fit up into this side here, mesh with the gear in there, and those ball bearings are going to run between the cone and that inner race there. So we're going to have to do one side and then do the other. I'm sitting here trying to, I think what I'm going to do is see if I can kind of turn this whole thing up on its end, and it's going to be easier to get those bearings in there like this, I think. So my shaft is going to drop down in here. The bearings are going to go kind of up underneath that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a fairly thick layer of grease in here. This will hopefully help kind of hold my ball bearings in place. We're going to need to have it packed anyway, so let me just get a good gob of this down in there. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of drop the gear through, holding this up, and should be able now to kind of start dropping those ball bearings in there and placing them around. Now these are brand new ball bearings. I think they're 1/4 inch if I remember right. I just ordered them from McMaster Car to replace the old bearings that came out of here. I think there may be room for one more. Let's see. Yeah. All right. So that's kind of the bearings on this side. And now we need to do the same thing on the other side without letting all these fall out. So what I'm going to do is just going to go ahead and finish packing this socket here. And there is this little cap that goes over the end. I'm going to pack some up in here too. All right, let's see if we can screw this back into the socket there. All right. Okay. Now, I should be able to turn this over. And we're going to do the same thing over here. Start by putting some grease down in there. And we can start dropping some ball bearings in. And here's my cone. I'm going to hold the shaft on the bottom and see if I can tighten this up just a little bit more. It may be too tight. All right, that's much better. All right. All right. All right, I think we're ready to put the top gear in. So this one will sit down and mesh in that gear down below. This shaft here is going to come through all of this. Get that key in there. Okay, there it goes. And then there's a bushing that goes up over this end. And now, you turn all that, feels like it's going to go. All right. So now the gearbox attaches here to the blower housing. We got a couple of screws here, 3 screws that kind of hold all this together. Get these started. All right. Tighten these up with a wrench here. These screws don't feel like they're bottoming out. I forgot the original ones. Let me go clean these up. We may end up just having to put these back in there because there is a little bit of play in there. There shouldn't be. I'm going to see if the original screws fit better. Still a little loose. Screws, when they come in here, they're going in deeper than they probably should, and I've still got some countersink coming out the back side here, and the problem is that it was bottoming out over here, so I made a little modification. I just took a countersink and I countersunk these holes a little bit so that screw can tighten down farther. Why is it doing this now and it wasn't before? I'm not sure, but that's what we're going to do to fix it. So we're going to go ahead and try this again. You can see now I got the part counter sunk a little bit behind it, and that should hopefully let it tighten up now. All right, that's much better. So now I'm going to put the fan blade on here. There's a set screw here that tightens up under that little slot in there. Whoop. All right. Now I believe we can put the cover on here. Bolt that comes through. All right. Then we need to put our crank handle back on. A set screw here. We're blowing air. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Feels like it needs to kind of run in a little bit. It's a little bit tight. I might want to loosen these bearings up here just a touch, but with some adjustments, I think it's ready to roll. Got to cap goes on here. A couple of screws to hold these in. I do need to fill this crankcase up with oil, but before I do, I'm going to adjust these bearings a little bit off camera. But I'm happy with how this has turned out. Get a proper handle on here. The one that's on here isn't really right. I need to work on that. But all in all, she looks good. Should be good for another 100 years. Well, guys, happy with that. One Blacksmith blower, back in good condition. We're going to get this mounted back over on the forge. I got to get it dug out. It's kind of buried right now. And like I said, I want to make some adjustments to these bearings, loosen it up just a little bit. I'm going to do that off camera. But all in all, I think she's ready to go. I'm real happy with how this turned out. Like I said, this should have this thing all repurposed and reworked and with good bearings in it and ready to go for, again, another 100 years. So with that, that's going to be a wrap. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Those thumbs up and comments are always greatly appreciated. Hit that bell icon up there to get notifications when new videos are posted. Big, huge thank you to those who support the channel by subscribing, as well as through financially through Patreon, PayPal, etc. We could not take the time to shoot all the video and do everything we do if it was not for your help doing that. And with that, we're going to sign off. Again, we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching.